Love you, Marc.
Oh, hey, well, thank you everyone for coming here. My last days as a free person here in Vancouver, and as a Canadian being sent abroad to the United States for an activity I did here in Vancouver openly and transparently and proudly. I have to say I'm disappointed in my government. I'm a little disappointed in my country, but I remain a very positive and proud Canadian patriot. I'm proud of my Overgrow the Government revolution that we've started. 20 years ago when I began, even books and magazines in this country about marijuana were banned. There was no such thing as medical marijuana. There was no industrial hemp industry. We didn't have any hemp farms in this country. And in fact, only 24% of the Canadian population in 1990 when I started wanted to legalize marijuana, and now a majority of Canadians, 52%, want to repeal this terrible, insidious, evil prohibition that's been propped up by both the federal Conservative and Liberal governments for the last 45 years. It's seen 2 million Canadians criminalized, millions of their family members, very much like my wife today, have been made to suffer for a public policy that has no public benefit. It's the only thing we have in Canada that's existed for 45 years that's caused so much heartbreak and misery and torment to so many Canadians that has absolutely no benefit to any single Canadian or Canadian society as a whole. So I'm being made to pay. I did sell those seeds so that people could overgrow the government. I spent $4 million. I gave it away from 1994 to 2005 to drug addiction clinics, to politicians, to court challenges, to Supreme Court challenges, to global marijuana marches. That $4 million kick-started a movement that now is worldwide and has huge numbers and has a huge amount of support. My work is self-evident, I think. I'm the Prince of Pot for a good reason, in that I didn't hurt anybody. There's no victim here. I've probably run the largest scale revolution that has had no bodies. There are no victims, no dead people in my revolution. It's a revolution fronted by a beautiful plant, the world's most valuable plant, the world's most beloved plant. 170 million people love the cannabis plant. It won't hurt you. It won't kill you. It won't do what so many legal things will do, like tobacco, alcohol, prescription drugs, sugar, salt, basic commodities that kill people every day in this country, and they're entirely legal, and the people who distribute them and manufacture them will never be called into a court like I am to account for the people they've killed selling their products. I'm proud of everything I've done. I don't feel bad about anything. I won't be repentant. I won't be apologizing to any judge. I won't be making account for my work. I'll only regret that I wasn't able to do more, and that I leave this country when I leave this country, and you have an opportunity to stop that. The Justice Minister is going to have to sign off on my extradition. Tell him, don't do it. It's a betrayal of everything Canadian. It's a betrayal of our sovereignty. It's a betrayal of a good citizen myself who's never hurt anybody. There's no victim here. There's no crime here. There's an offense in law, but there's certainly no crime. The crime is that we have a government that continues to hand a huge business over to the underground, the criminal element, as a matter of public policy. The politicians who support this prohibition are supporters of organized crime. There's no way to get around that. The legislation that they passed in Parliament, Bill C-50, and all the other legislation that puts people in jail for drug use, for marijuana use, for growing marijuana, are immoral laws that manufacture crime. We are making criminals with laws like this, and we will continue to see this situation of gang violence get worse, and that our constitutional rights will be eroded, and that we will continue to see trouble on the streets, and trouble in our courts, and trouble in our jails, as long as we have this evil prohibition. I can only hope that Canadians will appeal to the Public Safety Minister, Peter Van Loan, and say, don't sign this extradition. You have to talk to the Minister of Justice, Rob Nicholson, and say, don't sign this extradition. And when they do sign, or if they do sign this extradition, they must be punished at the next election. It's very vital, if Canadians want to protect the sovereignty of this country, that they must repudiate the Conservative government and re-elect opposition parties who are more supportive of protecting Canadians both abroad and here at home, and our constitutional rights and our privileges and duties as a Canadian. I am a Canadian. I'm a proud Canadian. I did all my activities here in Canada. I haven't been to the United States in 16 years since I've been a seed seller, and I did so deliberately. I knew what I was doing. I'm proud of representing the cannabis culture, and if I have to be punished, by unjust laws and draconian punishments in a U.S. jail. Bear in mind, I'll be in a foreigner's jail in the United States, an alien jail. I won't even have common basic human rights that Americans have in this U.S. prison, which is full of people who are there from cartels and gangs, and I'll be amongst hardened criminals and very few Canadians and very few people who speak English. So it'll be a very difficult time for me. I look forward to your help in getting me transferred back to Canada. Under previous governments, transfers to Canada were automatic under the treaty we have with the United States, and I look forward to all of you helping me get returned to a Canadian jail so that I can be receive Canadian sentencing principles. So I would be out on the street with you a year from now if I'm transferred back to Canada as a non-violent first-time offender in the federal system.